And as a mind, you like to go back in time here. So as the sort of older nerds here, what I find the most destabilizing about this particular sell-off is its speed. Not that we fall 30, 38% from our highs, but that it's happening so quickly. And that it seems to be sort of saying, all right, nothing getting out of Washington, that's one thing, but it's also talking about the virus itself and how it exponentially grows, up 8,000 more cases than we had just yesterday. That's growing 40 to 50% per day across the country, to say nothing of across the world. That is unnerving. That's unnerving.
Right, that's unnerving the markets. So that's unnerving the markets to the point where if you look at charts, and a lot of Wall Street guys, and I've been sharing these charts with you folks and putting it on my Facebook and Twitter feeds, a lot of these charts resemble the crash of 29. Like the chart we have now in terms of velocity and movement and all the sort of market indicators looks like a 29 crash. And you know what happened after 29. Now, I will say the big difference, I believe, between 29 and now is that this policy response in 1929, Neil, was Fed tightening, believe it or not. Both Herbert Hoover and then FDR cranking up regulations and taxes. Those policy responses are the direct opposite of what the Trump administration is doing right now. And I think, listen, I know there's a lot of back and forth with the Congress and Trump, and, they want their little, Chuck Schumer wants some environmental stuff in there. Mitch McConnell wants a cleaner bill. They're going to do something. I give it 99% they're going to do something. It may happen today or tomorrow. It's going to happen. There's going to be a fiscal stimulus response to this. There has to be. We already have the monetary stimulus, which Congress can't control out of the Fed. So the policy response is going to be very, I think, responsible in the short term. Obviously, we're talking about $2 to $3 trillion deficits next year. So I think that is the good part about what's going on here. The bad part, obviously, is the market doesn't know how to price in the unknown, just how many people get sick on this. And one other thing, the Trump administration pats itself on the back a lot about, stopping banning the China flights in January, which I think was good. And most people would say was a reasonable thing to do. It wasn't xenophobic. But I will say this. That is having not a lot of impact on what's going on right now. The virus was probably already here in January. It was obviously spreading to Europe, and people were going to Europe and coming back. The policy response in January is probably some of the stuff we're doing now, or at least in February. And that's the problem with the Trump administration playing this down for as long as it did. It prevented the appropriate social distancing policy response, and now it's going to pay a price. I know they keep saying that the economy, we have to choose whether to stop the economy in its tracks, and that could be worse. Here's the problem with stopping the social distancing. It's the hospital systems that probably can't take the flood of patients coming in there. They haven't been prepared because we were essentially central government was downplaying it for so long.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I thought about what he was saying there. And it's way too early to judge whether the approach we're taking to this is the proper one. We're doing too much, we're doing too little. What the president or others should have done early on, it won't do much good right now. But having said that, I am wondering the future viral sensations that hit us. And this is not the first, it's just the latest. It's a biggie, I'm not dismissing it.
Right.
But from swine flu to obviously SARS and a host of others in between. If this is the way we're going to react, I'm just wondering if people are just going to constantly be in a total state of freaking out.
Well, and Neil, you've got a valid point here. And you remember after 9/11, this changed the way that we traveled from here on out. So the question of it is, this social distancing, will this be the way that we live from here on out? Not meaning that we're isolating in our houses from here on out, but are we going to be a little bit more cautious going forward? And how is the market going to react to that? What sectors are going to be, affected? And first of all, we don't even know when the market's peaking on fear is. We don't even know if we've seen the peak of fear in the markets. And you're actually having to deal with two things at the same time: biotechnology, and markets. And I think, this is one of the first times when you're trying to have the marketplace kind of gauge where the peak on a pandemic is and what to look like forward. And if we go into a depression, Neil, it's going to look probably different than it did back in years ago, because we are technology advanced. We have so many different factors of how we can communicate now as opposed to, years gone by.
Here's the real problem, though, Noel. I agree with much of what you're saying, but if we took this seriously earlier, the hospitals would have been better prepared. There would have been more. There would have been more social distancing early and less severe. The fact is,
how are we
let this thing.
That?
The White House, unfortunately, even with their China ban, in rhetoric, tried to play this down for weeks. The nation was not prepared for what we're doing now, which we probably have to do, because if we don't do it, if we don't sort of stem the tide, and it could really crush the economy, I get that. I don't think our hospital systems are prepared for this. Listen, one of the problems that we've had with hospitals over the last 10 years, and particularly in the advent of Obamacare, and I'm not blaming this on President Obama, I'm just telling you, with Obamacare, is you've had a ratcheting back of hospital beds. That it's been much more of a we don't have the ICU capacity essentially in this country for a lot of reasons. So that's why I think Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio are so freaking out right now, and that is a huge problem. And that the only way to deal with that is essentially social distancing, which will crush the economy in the short term.
Yeah,
and I'm not quoting myself, I'm quoting doctors.
But just your thought, Connell, on I can't hear you guys, I apologize. But Connell, on that, what I was trying to lay